The night before the incident, while Quinn was sound asleep waiting for the other two to return, Peter had been called out by the group of first years. They had added him as a friend on his communicator watch and was able to send a message whenever they wanted to call him. That night, they had asked to meet outside of the dorm room building. 5 of the first years were standing outside, including Earl. "So I see it looks like your friends seem to still trust you, and you managed to get on their team then?" Earl said as he lifted his hand to look at his watch. "Oh, didn't I say to meet here at 8:30? It looks like you're a couple of minutes late." 2 of the first-year students then rushed over and grabbed Peter. One of them held his hand behind his back, while the other held out his right hand. 2 minutes late means 2 fingers, I'm afraid." Earl then held one of Peter's fingers. "Wait, I'm sorry, I needed to be careful. I had to make sure Vorden wasn't following me as you asked," Peter cried. Fine, I'll be generous," Earl said as he pushed down and snapped Peter's finger. Before Peter could even cry out in anger, he bit his tongue for fear that they might do something much worse if someone had heard him. The others watching flinched at the sight. Although they were helping Earl, even they feared him a little. It wasn't normal for someone to be able to hurt or break someone's bones so easily like that, but Earl was able to repeatedly do it easily as if it was nothing. "We will only do 1 finger then, but you know what will happen if you're late again," Earl said as one of the first years came over and started to heal Peter's finger. As the student healed Peter's finger, he could feel Peter's body shaking. "I called you out here because the general wants to have a meeting with you," Earl explained. The group of first-year students, including Peter, then started to escort him around the school. That's when Peter noticed that they had left the first-year campus building and had gone into the second-year buildings. Earl knocked on the door before entering, and only entered once he heard a voice. "Come in," the man said. As they entered the room, there was a table and 2 chairs opposite each other. Sitting in one of the seats was the General Duke, who was in charge of the second year. "You guys wait outside. I would like to talk with Peter on his own," Duke said. "Relax, take a seat, no need to be afraid." Peter did as Duke asked and sat in the seat, but couldn't help but wonder why the general had asked to meet him. The general was one of the highest-ranking members in the whole city. There was only one person higher than him, and that was the head general. "It seems those people have gone too far with you." Duke then placed his large hands on the table and looked Peter dead in the eye. "Peter, would you like to have the power to fight back?" Suddenly Peter's dead eyes went slightly into life again as he heard those words. "I looked at your file. You had no ability before coming here, and when you entered school we gave you the Earth ability. Right now you're only a level 1, but I can change that for you." Duke then pulled out several Earth skill books and threw them out on the table. "I know you've been saving up trying to get your hands on these. With this, you can finally get out of the level 1 power range, and with that, your troubles would go away. You would be able to graduate from school with a good grade, join a company to go hunting, and earn a good wage for the rest of your life. Sounds nice, doesn't it?" Duke said with a huge smile on his face. Peter couldn't keep his eyes off the skill books in front of him. These skill books were ones that only the military had a hold of. Now that Peter had the Earth ability, the only way he could improve his power was through these skill books. Then finally, he would no longer have to live his life in fear. "Of course, these things don't come for free. The world doesn't work like that. Those men out there work for me. They do what I say, and in return, I offer them protection within the school and outside of the school. Not only that, but they get rewarded for doing well," he said as he held up one of the skill books. "You're going on your first portal outing sometime soon, aren't you? Let me tell you, accidents happen all the time, and every year a student dies on another planet. Now, information has it that maybe this year, someone from that team of yours will go missing. You're a smart boy, so I think you can understand what I'm saying. Now, maybe that person will be you, maybe not. So, what's your answer going to be?" His hands were now shaking as the realization had hit him. "What the hell have you done?" Vorden shouted. "I'm sorry," Peter said. "You don't understand. I had to do it." "What? Let me guess. Because you were being bullied? Because you were being threatened?" Vorden shouted as he continued to walk towards Peter, and at the same time, Peter would walk back. "Do you not think Quinn has been going through the same thing as you? He's a level 1 just like you. And do you think they didn't try threatening me? But what have you done? You have basically sent Quinn to death. Did Vorden and Quinn truly know what it was like to live his life? All Peter wanted was a normal school life, to go through it without any troubles. And someone was offering that to him. Maybe he took the easy way out, but he didn't feel that way. He had already gone through his own suffering before entering the academy, and even worse now that he was in the academy. Why did he have to be the one targeted by Earl and the others? But there was one thing that Vorden said that did strike a chord with Peter. Did he ever try fighting back? He always thought it was useless. The outcome had already been decided, so why get hurt even more? Perhaps that's what made Duke and the others think he was an easy target in the first place. Then suddenly, Vorden started grabbing his head. He started moving all over the place, swinging his head like crazy. "I can't hold him back anymore, Vorden. You have to try. If he takes over, who knows when I'll get control again. The shock is too much for him. Looking at Peter is only making his emotions stronger." As Vorden looked up, Peter could see his eyes filled with tears, sadness. Then Vorden looked towards the portal. "No, what are you thinking?" Peter shouted. Vorden then turned around and looked at Peter. "Peter, this is for your own sake, but you better hope I don't come back out of here alive." Vorden then ran straight into the red portal, his body vanishing from the room. As Vorden jumped into the red portal, he felt a tingling sensation all over his body. A few moments later, Vorden had arrived. He opened his eyes, and the first thing he noticed was the place was incredibly dark. Vorden then started to look at his surroundings. It was strange to see building structures around them. When there was building work, it would usually be Dalkey structure, but this was clearly not Dalkey-based. "Aren't the red portals meant to be on sheltered planets? This place looks like a broken shelter." "I think you are forgetting something," Rayton said. "While orange may mean it's in the process of being taken over and sheltered being places, red can also mean it's too dangerous to build a shelter in the first place. You have basically given us a death sentence." "What do you mean?" Vorden asked. "Are you really being so stupid? Sure, you might have run through that portal so you didn't kill your friend, but what's the point if we die instead?" Then a thought came to Vorden's mind. Quinn. The portal was unable to send you to a pinpoint location, but it did put you in the same general area, at least within 10 miles of each other. For now, Vorden would look for a portal back to the academy while also searching for Quinn. Somewhere on the same planet, Quinn had also arrived. His heart was beating rapidly as it was the first time he had experienced such a thing. "Peter, what the hell was that?" Quinn thought. "Damn it, he must have pushed me through the portal. Where am I?" As Quinn looked around, he could see the similar buildings around him all crumbled, torn, and fallen down. The place looked like a city had once existed, but had been left behind for years. However, there was one saving grace about the whole thing. On the planet it was currently nighttime, meaning Quinn didn't feel weak and had a better chance of surviving. However, before Quinn had even moved from the spot he was in, he spotted something from the corner of his eye. Quinn tried to follow whatever it was with his eyes, but it would constantly move around until it had eventually stopped, just underneath a pile of rubble from one of the buildings. Quinn started to back away, making sure to keep an eye on where he last saw the figure. Then, when he was a safe enough distance away, he finally turned around. In that instant, a sound could be heard from behind. Quinn immediately turned around and could see a horrible figure running towards him. It clearly wasn't an ordinary animal, and something he had only ever seen in books and TV. It was a beast. Suddenly, Quinn could hear the sounds of something scurrying towards him at an amazing speed. As he turned, the beast was now in full sight. When the creature was a few feet away, it leapt in the air, and claws appeared from the creature's 2 front limbs. Quinn, almost out of instinct, swiped his hand, letting out a blood swipe. The attack managed to hit the beast and sent it flying back. Name, Ratclaw. Basic tier beast. HP, ? Unlike with humans, when Quinn used the status screen, it would show their HP and blood type, but in this case, he had only received a name and the level of the beast. Seeing the tier of the beast, though, Quinn started to feel a little less frightened. The Ratclaw had recovered and charged straight for Quinn once again. Seeing how the blood swipe was effective, he waited for the beast to get close once again. Blood swipe! But Quinn had underestimated the speed and the responsiveness of the Ratclaw. Defense 1. Durability of weapon has decreased by 50%. Strength has fallen to 3. "You little crap, get off me!" Quinn shouted as he started swinging his arm. With the beast stuck to his arm, it was too dangerous for him to use blood swipe and too close for him to perform a hammer strike. All that was left was to do it the old-fashioned way. Quinn then started to repeatedly pound the beast on its head with his other hand. With each blow, black blood would gush out of the beast. The blows were powerful and damaging to the beast, and with each strike, the grip started to loosen.
If you had just stayed away, you could have lived, Quinn shouted as he continued to punch the beast, until finally its grip had come loose and it had fallen to the ground. Basic tier beast Ratclaws has been defeated. 100 EXP points gained. In a way, beasts were a goldmine for his system. Congratulations, you are now level 5. Race, halfling. HP, 30 of 30. 40 of 1600 EXP. Strength, 13, 2. Agility, 15. Stamina, 12. Strength, 14, 2. But the system still had one more surprise for him. New skill unlocked. Blood spray. Cost, minus 5 HP. The skill reminded Quinn of a shotgun he used to watch from the old movies, where the small pellets would spread out, hitting multiple targets. The problem was the cost of the skill. 5 HP was a huge amount, and even with his blood bank, Quinn would have to be careful when using it. Quinn then walked up to the dead beast on the ground. He had punched the creature so hard in the skull it was indented, and blood was leaking everywhere. Inspect. Ratclaw blood. If blood is consumed, is poisonous to the body. Minus 1 HP for every millimeter of blood consumed. I wonder why my body only accepts human blood. The system had been oddly specific when his body started to require blood. This made Quinn think that even the blood of animals wouldn't work, even though some were red in color just like humans. Suddenly, though, the sound of something running was heard again. As Quinn looked up, the sight of 10 Ratclaws running in his direction. After struggling to face just against one, he knew he had no chance against 10. All he could do was run. He ran down the empty street, not knowing where he was heading. But the Ratclaws were fast, and would soon catch up. That's when Quinn spotted a building, one that was far less damaged than the others. He went inside, but the space was still too large. He then spotted a stairway to his right nearby. After quickly running up the stairway and reaching the first platform, he stopped and turned. He knew he had no choice but to fight back. With his palm open facing downward, he was ready. Time to test you out.
Standing on top of the platform, Quinn had a clear view of the giant rat-like creatures coming towards him. Blood spray! 25 of 30 HP. The 5 rats out in front were sent flying back and toppling down the stairs. There was no longer any space for Quinn to go up. He turned around and the rats were just starting to ascend the second set of stairs. He started swinging his hands out rapidly, aiming carefully at each rat. Blood swipe, as the red claw-like lines left his hands. At the same time, he could hear multiple messages ding in his head. Ratclaw has been defeated. 100 EXP. 14 of 30 HP. The messages continued onward, until eventually all of the rats had been killed. Quinn then fell to the floor on his knees, gasping for air. 5 of 30 HP. Blood bank has auto-activated. 30 of 30 HP. 50 milliliters remaining in blood bank. 1040 of 1600 EXP. Congratulations, blood swipe has reached level 2. This meant the remaining blood in his bank would last him a total of 10 days. He didn't know how long he would be on this planet, but he needed to be careful about using his skills. There were only 2 good things that had come out of the whole situation. The fact that his blood swipe skill had leveled up. The second good thing that had come out of this was the EXP he had gained. Quinn then walked up to the dead beasts on the floor. Using the tip of his gauntlets, he tore open the beasts. He searched around inside the chest, looking for a glowing crystal. It was a small, round crystal ball with tiny little bumps all over, and around the same size as an adult's fist. Basic tier beast crystal obtained. Would you like to store it in your inventory? Quinn selected the yes option, and suddenly the crystal in his hand slowly started to vanish away, and finally it had completely disappeared. Quinn then went to extract the crystals from the remaining 9 rats. The beast crystals could be used to turn into beast weapons or beast armor, but looking at the rat-like creature, Quinn had no idea what it could be used for. Even though the building he was in was safe, he was on a strict time scale and needed to find the portal back fast. As he looked around, all he could see were buildings that resembled human structures. That's when he spotted something. One of the buildings, without a doubt, had the same crest as the school he attended. So this really is a human shelter, but then why is it all ruined and destroyed? Quinn had recognized the building as they had one in the city he was currently in. It was the military storage room. It was where they kept all their high-end equipment, ability books, skill books, and beast weapons. There's a good chance the portal might be located in there. Unknown to the students at the school, there was currently chaos going on between the upper staff. Faye, one of the sergeants of the school, was walking down the hallway at incredible speed. Even though she was only walking, she was causing gusts of wind to hit the students as she walked past them. A single wooden door in the first-year building had a sign out front saying the words General on it. Faye barged the door open and quickly zoomed to Nathan's desk. The wind that came along with her caused papers to be flown and scattered all over the room. "Hey, I was nearly done with that," Nathan shouted. "The portals have been used," Faye shouted. "2 students seem to have been registered to have gone through them." Nathan started to pick up the papers that were scattered around the room, one by one. "Is that all? Well, why don't you just go and get them back?" "I'm afraid it's because they have gone through a red portal, sir." Nathan then dropped all the piles of paper he had picked up from the floor. "What? How did this happen? Weren't there meant to be guards stationed at the portal?" "Apparently there was a scheduling conflict. When the guards changed shifts, their replacements never arrived." Nathan then went to sit back in his chair as he struggled to think what to do. Stupid parents. This is why I said we should have cameras stationed in the school, but it was hard enough to allow them to get those trackers put on them. The original families had a big say in what went on and what didn't. "Do we know which students have gone through the portal?" "The first one is the student by the name of Quinn Talon, and the second one is Vorden Blade." "Him again?" After the incident with the second years, Nathan decided to look into Vorden's family background a bit more, and if they were to find out, this would be bad news. "Make sure his family don't learn anything. We have to keep this a secret for as long as we can." As class had started for the day, Layla noticed that Vorden and Quinn weren't in their seats. However, Peter was in his, and he had his head face down looking at the ground. "Hey, Peter, do you know where Vorden and Quinn are today?" she asked. "I didn't do anything," Peter snapped. "Huh? What?" Layla said, confused. "I was asking if you knew where Quinn and Vorden were. Did they not come back to the dorm room yesterday?" "Oh, sorry. Yeah, they were there when I went back," Peter said with his voice all shaky. "I don't know why they haven't come to class this morning." "They wouldn't miss today. We're meant to go out portal hunting as a team." Just then, Dell had entered the room. He didn't have his usual cheery face on, and instead had a bland, serious look. "I'm afraid that I have to inform you all that today's portal outing has been cancelled for now." Upon hearing the news, the students groaned and complained. "Quiet down," Dell said loudly. Aaron had then come over to where Layla was. "Yesterday, while I was walking by 2 students, they overheard the sergeant shouting at the general, something about 2 students going into the portals. My guess is that's the reason why this whole thing has been delayed in the first place." Layla then stood up from her seat and grabbed Aaron by the shoulders. "Don't you see? Vorden and Quinn have to be the missing students. No wonder Dell didn't say anything about them." As she turned her head, she looked Peter dead in the eye. As soon as Layla took a step forward, Peter got out of his seat and ran for it. "Aaron, we have to get Peter. He knows something. A person who isn't guilty doesn't run away for no reason."
As class ended, the students continued to speak, and it turned out that Layla wasn't the only one who was concerned about where Vorden and Quinn went. "Any idea about the other 2? Aaron said bluntly. "No, I have no idea. Do you want to go look for them with me?" Layla asked nicely. "No thanks," Aaron replied. "Now that the portal training has been delayed, I'm in no rush to find them. But I came over to tell you some news I heard some students talking about. Yesterday, while I was walking by 2 students, they overheard the sergeant shouting at the general, something about 2 students going into the portals. My guess is that's the reason why this whole thing has been delayed in the first place." "Wait, what did you say?" "Don't you see? Vorden and Quinn have to be the missing students. No wonder Dell didn't say anything about them." Then suddenly it felt like she was being handed pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, one by one. But there was still one missing piece, and she knew exactly the person who could give her the last piece. Peter felt like Layla was staring into his soul. This whole time he had been worried. What if someone had seen him leave the portal room? What if the other first years reported it was him? Then when Layla had spoken to him in the morning, he slipped up. He was trying so hard to act natural, it had the opposite effect. As soon as Layla took a step forward, Peter got out of his seat and ran for it. "Aaron, we have to get Peter. He knows something." "What makes you think that?" Aaron asked. "A person who isn't guilty doesn't run away for no reason." Blood was dripping from the top of his head and started to go trickle down to his eyebrow. He lifted his hand to wipe the blood while holding a dagger made of mud in his other hand. "What did I say? You got us killed, Vorden. Will you shut up unless you want to fight the damn thing instead?" Fine then, let me take control of the seat, and I'll fight this damned rat. Vorden then left the seat in his mind and allowed Rayton to take his place. When Rayton sat down, he took control of the body. Meanwhile, Vorden walked off into the darkness, and inside was another figure that looked just like Vorden, only they were sitting on the floor swaying backwards and forwards. Their fingers would constantly roll around each other, and part of his shirt was in his mouth. "How are you holding up? Are you feeling better?" Vorden asked. "Yeah, is Quinn going to be okay?" he said as he continued to sway backwards and forwards. "I'm sure he's fine. You know he's special. We all did from the moment we first met him. Special, just like Kaser was, and Marlin, and Fufu, but they all died as well." Vorden gulped as he could see the swaying getting faster. "This time is different. Me and Rayton are here to protect you. You can stay here as long as you want, and when you're ready you can come out once again. Leave all the talk to me, all the fighting to Rayton, and we can do this together." The swaying started to slow down, and at the same time so did Vorden's nerves. As Vorden went to walk back to the seat, he could see that Rayton had already dealt with the beast rather quickly. "Did you really have to go that far?" Vorden asked. "That cheeky little crap ruined our body. I can't let it get away with that." Vorden then proceeded to carve out the beast crystals from the two rats and place them in his trouser leg pocket. "I come in peace," the man said with his arms lifted up. Vorden walked over to the traveler cautiously. It was rare to even meet a traveler in this type of place, and who knew what the man's true intentions were. Someone had to be at least a decent skill level to be asked to enter a red portal planet. "Don't worry, I won't bite," the man said. "What's a kid like you doing in a place like this? I didn't know the military was that desperate that they were now sending a single student to a hellhole like this. I got stuck here. It was an accident, and I need to find a way out." "Looks like we both have the same goal at least," the traveler said. "The name's Ian. I came through another portal and was hunting out a beast in the wild. I was badly hurt and too far away from the original portal, so in a last-ditch effort I decided to come to this abandoned shelter. You're quite skillful to have defeated two of them on your own, especially for someone as young as yourself. You have my thanks. I was too badly hurt from the beast before. That Ratclaw had chased me into the warehouse, and I was waiting for it to go away. I never expected someone else to be here in this shelter." "You're welcome," Vorden replied. "Well, since we both have the same goal anyway, do you have any idea where the portal could be?" "Sure. There were a few buildings I spotted on my way over here. It's best if we check them out first." "The name's Vorden." "I look forward to us working together." "Do you know when the sun will rise?" Vorden asked. "Maybe it will be best if we travel once the sunlight comes out. Then we can spot beasts easier." "You really don't know where we are, do you?" Ian replied. "This planet's spin cycle lasts an entire year, and right now we're only 6 months in. I'm afraid we won't be seeing light for a very long time." Once the two of them were ready, they decided to head back outside, while Ian took the lead. They made sure to travel close to the buildings, rather than in the middle of the street. If anything spotted them, they could quickly dart inside for combat. "Hey, Vorden, I have an idea," Rayton said. "Why don't we kill the adventurer while he's weak and get that crystal of his? We could sell it for a fortune, or even make some really good equipment out of the thing."
"Are you an idiot? Once we kill him, then what would we do? His ability would only last for 24 hours. If we don't find a way out of here in time, we would be completely done for." Then suddenly Ian stopped as he spotted something. "Look over there," Ian pointed. In the middle of the street lay a single dead Ratclaw. The two of them looked around before proceeding to move closer to it. "It looks like it wasn't killed too long ago, and had its heads been pounded in," Ian said as he bent down to get a closer look. Then he suddenly pulled out a beast crystal. Whoever it was, they didn't have time to remove the beast crystal. They were probably being chased by something else. "Actually," Vorden said out loud, "I wasn't the only one who came through here by accident. My friend came here with me, and I was actually hoping to find him." "I won't ask for details," Ian said, "but don't get your hopes up. I was surprised to see you alive, never mind your friend." Ian felt like he should try to help out. He started to inspect the Ratclaw on the floor and found a trail of black blood. "Come on, let's go see if we can find that friend of yours." The two of them continued to follow the trail until it eventually led them to a 3-story building. As they entered the first floor, it was mostly empty with no signs of anything, but Ian decided to continue to follow the trail of black blood that led up the set of stairs. "What happened here?" Ian thought. As they walked up the first set, they could see more and more black blood splattered everywhere on the walls. Then, when they walked up even further, the two of them were stunned at the scene. Lying on the ground were 10 Ratclaws died, completely still, each one with their beast crystal carved out. "Who did this? Are there more people here?" Maybe another team on a mission? Ian said. I'm sorry, I thought perhaps the Ratclaw outside was killed by your student friend, but it looks like I was wrong. You would need at least a small team to take out 10 at once like this. The two of them then decided to climb to the roof. They stood on top of the roof and looked down. That's when the two of them spotted something. Get down quick, Ian said. It was a beast that walked on 6 legs, 3 on each side. Its body stood upright like that of a human, while the bottom half was like that of a scorpion. It was a hideous beast that clearly wasn't from Earth. An intermediate beast, Ian said. Hey, what's that building? Vorden asked. Could the portal be inside there? That's the storage room, Ian answered. I doubt the portal would be inside there. Usually those places get targeted by thieves and such, and even if it wasn't there, it would be best if we let the beast leave first. Quinn had left the other building and slowly started to make his way to the storage room. He had no clue when the sun would rise and needed a place to stay for the night. Not only that, but he was hoping that he might come across some treasures at the storage room. On his way, he spotted a few Ratclaws feasting on something in the middle of the street. Damn, they're everywhere, just like rats back on Earth, Quinn thought. Quinn continued to head towards the storage building until finally he had arrived. At the front, there were 2 large steel doors which slid open. Afraid that they might make a lot of noise and attract unwanted attention, he decided to walk around the building to see if there were any other openings or entrances. With his back hugging the side of the wall, he peeked out to take a look. It seemed like there was another Ratclaw, only this one was squealing and on its back in pain. Its cries were weak, and he wondered just how long had the beast been there for. He came out from the side of the wall and walked up to the injured Ratclaw on its back. As he got closer to it, the Ratclaw snarled at Quinn and tried to swipe its claws out. Still trying to kill me even in this state, Quinn thought. Let me put you out of your pain. He walked up to the beast, and with a single blow to its head, it had died. As Quinn looked at the back of the building, he could see a small hole in one of the corners. Did the Ratclaw come out from there? Before entering, he gulped at the thought that perhaps whatever injured the rat might be inside. Crawling on his front, he had reached the hole and tried to pop his head in. It was big enough for a human to fit through, but what he was afraid of was inside the building. He crawled through the hole and entered into the hangar. Nearly everything inside had been destroyed. There were no airships, mechs, and no beast weapons. He started to walk around the hangar for a while, until eventually there was a room stationed in the corner. He walked up to the room, and there was a single steel door with a passcode device next to it. The door was military grade, which meant even those with abilities would find it hard to break it down. But it was clear to him that whatever was in the container had yet to be destroyed, and most likely whatever was inside was important stuff worth locking. Should I try Hammer Strike on it? He looked at the passcode on the side and pressed 4 random digits before pressing the enter button. Beep. Of course I'm not that lucky, he thought. Looking at the lock again, his gut was telling him to try it. Quinn then did as his inspect skill said and touched the lock. Nothing happened, but then he used the inspect skill one more time. Quinn immediately tested out the number the system had given him. Beep. Ka-chuk. The door then made an unlocking sound and swung open. Seeing that the intermediate beast was patrolling around the storage room, Ian and Vorden had decided to go to a different part of the shelter. Any ideas of where the portal might be? Vorden asked. My guess is somewhere underground. It's safe for most of the beasts that way. Most likely they have a special building that looks like any other and a secret entrance. Wait, so are you saying we just have to keep going into buildings? Well, we can rule out all the residential buildings. They wouldn't be able to build a large enough base under those, and any of the small buildings or dangerous areas you can rule out as well. There are only so many big buildings that would be large enough to store a big base under. The two of them continued to look into building after building, but there was no luck or no sign of a secret room. Eventually, they entered what looked like a library. That's when a loud rumbling sound had come from Vorden's belly. I guess we've been traveling for a while now. Why don't we rest here for the night? Doesn't look like there are any beasts here, and we can build our own fortress, Ian said. There were large holes and broken-down walls on the first floor, which made it easy for beasts to attack them. Once they had reached the second floor, the two of them started to lift up a few of the bookshelves. It seemed like Ian had the ability of super strength, seeing how easily he moved the heavy bookshelves, but Vorden knew that wasn't true. The reason why Ian seemed like he had extra strength was actually from the beast armor he was wearing. Vorden helped out in his own way by clearing a space and moving all the books and piles of rubbish away. After an hour or so they were done. "It's a nice home, isn't it?" Ian said proudly of his work. "Well, what are you waiting for? Come on, let's go inside." He then pulled out a little small stone from his pocket and placed it on the ground in the center of the room. He tapped the stone once, and a warm orange light started to shine from it. "Here, take this," Ian said as he handed a small circle pill to Vorden. "Is this a food supplement?" Vorden asked. "Yeah, I'm guessing if you came here by accident, you don't have any with you." Vorden looked at the pill before shoving it down his throat and into the stomach. A food supplement was a pill that contained all the things a human needed to live. As long as a person took one pill of these a day, they no longer needed to eat. "You'll get some sleep and I'll keep watch. Then we'll do a little switch later on," Ian said. "Sounds good?" "Yeah." As he heard the sound of the door unlocking, a grin appeared on his face. "I love you, System. I swear I'll never talk badly about you ever again," Quinn said as he stepped into the container. But as he stepped in, his hopes of finding legendary beast equipment or stashes of beast crystals were soon lost. The room was simply filled with shelves of books. Nothing else but books. However, as soon as Quinn picked up one of the books closest to him, his mind had quickly changed. It was a container room filled with ability and skill books. Although Quinn was unable to learn the ability, he immediately converted the book into EXP points. As soon as Quinn decided to convert the book into EXP, it started to vanish in his very hands, as if it was disintegrating. After absorbing the first book, Quinn started to pick up book after book. After going through the books, Quinn found out that a level 1 skill book would give him 5 EXP points, while a level 1 ability book would give him 10 EXP points. Quinn got closer to the back of the container and found that the level of books would increase. After leveling up, Quinn immediately put his stat point into strength, and now without his gauntlets, his strength was at 15, meaning he would be able to perform the hammer strike skill with or without the gauntlets. As Quinn looked around the room, there were still several books he hadn't even touched yet. The place really was a goldmine for him. As he went on to the next set of shelves, with it came a new set of books. He placed his hand on the first one, and it was the first level 3 ability book he had come across. Quinn placed the book down and picked the book up, making sure he had heard the system right. But once again, the numbers he had received were correct. The level 3 ability book was offering him 1,000 experience points. He once again went on rampage, grabbing every book he could on the shelf, absorbing those that he couldn't, and tossing the others on the ground. No new skills were unlocked, but Quinn still obtained the regular stat points for every level up. Now that his strength and agility were at level 15, he decided he should finally increase his stamina points. Quinn had now nearly touched every single book that was in the storage room. Unfortunately, the highest ability Quinn was able to find so far was a level 3 ability book. The further he went into the container, the higher the levels, but for the last few shelves it didn't seem to be the case. It seemed like they were just duplicates of the other level 3 ability books. As Quinn picked up one book, the system message didn't go off. It was because it was a level 3 Earth ability book that he had already absorbed. "Hey, maybe Peter could use this," Quinn thought. It was only one book. Quinn was sure he would be able to carry it safely with him. But as soon as he thought about Peter, a memory entered his mind, and it wasn't a good one. Peter was the whole reason why he was in this place, and he still didn't know how long he was going to be here, or if he would even be able to survive. To be honest, Quinn was just trying to make the best out of a bad situation at the moment. As he thought about Peter, anger started to enter his mind and body, and he ripped the book up. Then, as Quinn looked around the container, he noticed there was one shelf at the very back of the room where he hadn't been yet. He didn't bother going over there yet, because it looked empty from a distance, but as he got closer, he noticed there was a single book that had been placed there. As he touched the book on the shelf, a new message appeared. Out of shock, Quinn dropped the book back onto the shelf and took a step back. "Ability is compatible with system. Would you like to learn?" Out of all the books in the room, it was the first time he had ever received a message of this kind. Then Quinn started to think back to the name of the ability, Shadow Element. It was something he had never even heard of before, and Quinn was quite knowledgeable about the abilities of the world. After thinking about it for a long time, he decided he would try to place the book in his storage. And to his surprise, it worked. The ability book was safely put into his system storage with his beast crystals. Before learning the ability, Quinn wanted to make sure he could find out more about it first. Maybe then he could find out why it was compatible with his vampire system, and if so, Maybe they were other abilities that would be compatible as well. After storing the book away, he decided to close the door to the container unit and remain inside. It was safe here, and he was starting to feel tired. At least he knew the container was strong enough to protect him from whatever beast remained outside. He lied on the floor, and in an instant, closed his eyes. His body was pressed against the cold, hard floor. His eyelids slowly started to open, and all he could see was a white light. For a moment, while Quinn was sleeping, he had forgotten about everything that happened. But as soon as he looked around him and realized where he was, and he knew that everything wasn't a dream. Right now, he wasn't at the school, but was on a completely different planet miles away from home. It was a surprise that he slept so well on the floor without a bed. Without realizing it, he was more exhausted than he thought. Your hunger grows. Daily quest complete. Avoid direct sunlight for 8 hours. And at last, the system message had appeared. This meant that in one more day's time, the system would inform him that he needed to consume human blood. He was okay for now, as he still had 50 milliliters of blood in his bank. As long as he didn't get in any more fights, he would be fine. The most important thing for him to do now was to find that portal. As he went to open the steel door, Quinn was half expecting that the sun might be out. After all, the message appearing meant it was a new day. But as he opened the door, he was surprised to see it was still night out. However, his mind was quickly distracted by something else. Quinn immediately closed the door back up to the container. He placed his hand on his chest, feeling his heart beating at an incredible speed. What was that? Quinn thought. That was no rat, that's for sure. This time, Quinn went to the steel door again. He placed his hand on the metallic handle once again, and slowly opened the door to take a peek, and as he did, a large beast stood inside the hangar. With the body of a human but the bottom half of a scorpion-like creature, Quinn couldn't make out what it was. From the human half of its body, it also had 2 claws on each side. Inspect. Scordana, intermediate-level beast. After finding out what little information was available about the beast, Quinn quickly closed the door once again. Although Quinn had grown 3 levels while inside the container, he still felt like dealing with an intermediate beast would almost be impossible for him. The weakest of intermediate beasts were at least 10 times stronger than a basic tier beast. Of course, this would depend on the beast, for there were some beasts that were just easier to deal with than others, no matter what tier they were at. But looking at the creature, Quinn could tell it would be a tough battle. After waiting for what felt like a considerable amount of time, he decided to open the door once again to check if the beast was still there, and unfortunately, it was. That was when Quinn noticed something else that was in the hangar that wasn't there before. There were 3 round objects right next to the Scordana, placed in a pile of scrap metal. Are those eggs? Quinn thought. Inspect. Scordana eggs. Intermediate beast level. As he saw the eggs, a horrible thought had entered his mind. Quinn hadn't noticed them before, meaning she must have just laid them out while he was in the container, or they might have been hidden somewhere. But the first was more likely. Now the fact that her eggs were here meant the beast would protect them until they hatched, or at least it wouldn't be moving for a while. This felt like a risky option for Quinn, for he himself was on a time frame. Then there was the second option. If the Scordana had just given birth, then there was a chance she was weaker compared to usual. With the second option, he had to make a decision as soon as possible. In the end, Quinn gritted his teeth and stepped out of the container. Before even thinking of fighting against the beast, he would try his best to sneak out. The entrance to the front of the hangar was completely destroyed. The beast, when entering, had ripped apart the 2 metallic doors before coming in. The problem was, the beast was blocking that exit, but that still left Quinn with the small hole in the wall from where he had entered. Carefully moving in between piles of scrap metal and rubbish, Quinn slowly moved across the room to the other side where he had first entered. Then, when he finally had reached the hole, he could see something else entering from the other side. It was a Ratclaw. Oh no! As soon as the Ratclaw pulled its body through the small hole, it immediately looked up to see Quinn. Before he even had a chance to run away, Ratclaw started squealing like mad. Shut up! Why did you have to come here now of all times? Then the sound of several steps was heard from behind. Quinn didn't have time to turn around to know what it was, but he did so anyway, and as he did, a giant claw was swung down towards his head. Now that the Scordana had spotted Quinn, he had no choice but to stand his ground and fight. As the scorpion creature turned, it immediately started charging forward. Hoping to scare it away and do some damage, Quinn let out 2 blood swipes. As the blood swipe made impact, the scorpion was pushed back a few steps, but no damage could be seen, not even a white scratch mark on the claws. As Quinn looked and inspected the creature even closer, he could see that every part of the beast was covered in some type of shell apart from the upper body. That was the beast's weak point, and that's where he needed to hit. Then as Quinn readied his hand to cast his blood swipe skill, he felt a sharp pain in his back. As he looked up, he could see something connected to his body, and when he followed it, it went behind the beast. The beast then lifted Quinn with the tail and chucked him hard up against the wall. As he fell to the ground, his HP had taken a huge hit. As Quinn looked into his stomach, he could see a large puncture had been created, and blood was quickly flowing out of his body. Critical hit, 10 of 45 HP. Blood bank empty, 35 of 45 HP. With his health nearly full, his wounds had healed up almost instantly, and Quinn was able to move once again. Looking at the scorpion, he noticed the tail truly wasn't there. Is it able to take it into his body and out at will? This is going to be a pain. There were no more second chances. A battle of strength was being displayed between the two. The red swipes were powerful and started to knock the beast back, and eventually, even the claws started to crack, but neither of them gave up. 13 of 45 HP. When the beast was close enough, finally the tail was revealed from above. While its claws covered and blocked its body from the swipes, its plan was to attack from above with its long, large tail. As it fired its tail downward, just before the tail could pierce Quinn again, flash step! Suddenly, Quinn was no longer in front of the scorpion and now was directly behind it. Hammer strike! Then a few moments later, the beast had collapsed to the ground, and so had Quinn, completely exhausted. As he lifted his hands, his gauntlets had completely shattered. Skordana has been killed, 1000 EXP. First intermediate beast kill, 5000 EXP. First Skordana killed, 2000 EXP. Right now he had a serious problem. His health was incredibly low. 13 of 45 HP, and with his blood bank empty, there was no way for him to heal it back to normal. After waiting a few moments for his stamina to rise back up, he walked up to the dead Skordana's body. Finally, after tearing and rummaging through several limbs, the beast crystal was obtained and stored in his system once again. Now, Quinn looked at the eggs in the room. As he went forward, he lifted one of the eggs. He took a few steps back before lifting it into the air and slamming it into the ground. Black blood had been splattered all across the floor, and a little half-grown scorpion could be seen inside. Skordana A killed 1000 EXP. Congratulations, you are now level 9, 13 of 50 HP. The system hadn't given his health back like he thought it might have done. Your hunger grows. You can no longer suppress your need for blood. Your HP will decrease by -1 HP every hour until you have consumed human blood. Due to Quinn's energy and most of his blood being used in the fight earlier, his body was now no longer naturally healing itself. He was too hungry to heal and would need blood. With 13 points, that's 13 hours before I reach 0, and that's only if I don't use any of my skills or get injured along the way. I have no choice. I have to try to find the portal, Quinn said. Before leaving the hangar, Quinn had to think hard about just where the portal would be. All he knew was that they had to place it somewhere safe. Somewhere the beasts wouldn't be able to get to it. As he walked through the city, he decided to tread very carefully. Once in a while, he would come across a building with beasts inside. As he entered the buildings, there would be cases where Quinn had spotted them far up ahead in the darkness. He quickly would shift and hide in the shadows or behind walls, waiting for the beast to leave, and when he was ready, he would zoom past and around. 11 of 50 HP. The hunger in his belly was starting to distract him, and it was getting harder for him to focus as his health had gone down. Then finally, Quinn had spotted another building that was relatively in good condition. The training center, a place where travelers could come and test out their skills or practice with new equipment. As Quinn got closer to the dome building, he noticed that there were several mechs stationed outside that had been destroyed, their cores completely ripped out. Mechs were a powerful device used in the war, but to power them they required an incredibly powerful beast crystal of a high tier. As he reached the entrance of the training center, he could see that 2 Ratclaws were standing out in front of the building. He decided to wait a little longer, hoping that the Ratclaws might move. 10 of 50 HP. But as he saw the message bring his health down once again, he was only getting even more aggravated. The rats didn't look like they would be leaving anytime soon, and Quinn needed to come up with a plan. As Quinn looked around him, he found a broken piece of the mech nearby. He picked it up and looked off into the distance. Using all his strength, he threw the piece of metal a great distance. The piece of metal landed exactly where he was aiming for, making a large clang sound as it fell on the mech. The rats then looked up at where the noise was coming from and quickly scurried off in the direction of the sound. This is my chance. Quinn, using all the powers in his legs, bolted for the entrance. He tried pushing the steel doors open, but there was no luck. As he looked around the door for anything, he spotted another access code machine. He immediately rushed forward, placing his hand on the machine and used his inspect skill. I hope these works, don't let me down. An access code machine linked to the 2 steel doors. The combination is 333-462-53778. However, just as Quinn was inputting the code into the machine, the Ratclaws had returned. As the beasts saw him, they shrieked and called out another 2 of its friends. There were now 4 of the things. Come on! Come on! Beep! Damn, I must have put in the wrong number. He used his inspect skill once again, making sure he had the right code. He started inputting the numbers again when he suddenly felt something chomp down onto his leg. 9 of 50 HP. As he looked down, it was one of the rats, and the other 3 weren't too far behind it. The other 3 were now too close, and he no longer had any time to input the code. Flash step, then Quinn was suddenly behind them, but he was still too close to the 4 rats. Flash step only had a distance of 5 meters at most. The rats turned, and all ran forward towards him. I have no choice. He held out his palm and fired. Blood burst! A shotgun-like spray of blood was released from his hand, and it knocked back all 4 of the rats, killing the already injured one. 4 of 50 HP, 100 EXP. He then rushed forward to one of the rats on the ground, held both hands together, and slammed it down on another rat's head, killing the second one. 100 EXP. Now the other 2 rats had recovered, and were quickly after Quinn once again. Out of desperation, he swung his hands and activated his blood swipe, although this time, the blood swipes were strong and had killed each one in a single attack. 100 EXP, 100 EXP, 850 of 25,600 EXP, 2 of 50 HP. With his time running incredibly low, Quinn didn't even bother to get out the beast crystals. He went up to the door this time inputting the code correctly, and as he entered, he shut the door behind him, making sure it was locked. He was now in what looked like a reception area, a canteen of sorts, with several seats and a desk at the front. With his health running low, he had less than 2 hours to find the portal. Quinn fell to his knees in despair. He felt like this was his last chance. There was no way he had the time to go walking around the city, looking for another room with a portal. 1 of 50 HP. So this is how my life ends, huh? Quinn said. Mom, Dad, why did you leave me on my own? Why did you give me this book? I thought when I got this book maybe I might be able to change something, but I guess not. Then the final hour had passed. 0 of 50 HP. HP has reached 0 due to hunger. Transformation will now begin. That night, Vorden struggled to sleep just like every other night. He couldn't remember the last time he got a good night's sleep. That's when he felt a slight tug on his arm. Hey, wake up, kid. Looks like you were having a nightmare, Ian said. As Vorden opened his eyes, he looked around and noticed that he was still in the pitch-black room. Oh, sorry about that. I hope I wasn't making too much noise, Vorden replied. Well, this is a scary place. A kid like you shouldn't be here on their own in the first place, so don't worry about it, said Ian. Do you mind if we swap for a bit? Ian then switched places with Vorden. While Ian lied on the uncomfortable hard floor, Vorden would look out for the gaps in the bookshelf, keeping watch. Hey, Vorden, if you aren't going to kill him now, what about when we find the portal? Rayton asked. The advanced crystal he is carrying would be very helpful to us, and no one would find out. You've seen how weak he is, and now we have his ability, it would be easy to finish him off. While I'm in charge, nobody gets hurt, Vorden replied, getting annoyed. After waiting what felt like an entire day, it seemed like Ian had finally woken up. I'm telling you, I can't wait to get home, Ian said. Vorden turned around to look to Ian, seeing that he was struggling to get up. He offered his hand once again and pulled him up from the floor, but as Ian got off the ground, his face suddenly dropped. In one of the holes he had made, all that could be seen was a single large eyeball looking through. Ian immediately went to his waist and grabbed a small dagger, throwing it at the beast's eye. Then, when he pulled his hand back, the dagger flew back into his hand. Let's get out of here, Ian shouted, as he kicked one of the shelves, knocking it over. As the 2 of them climbed on top of the fallen shelf, they could see that they had been surrounded. I thought you were keeping a lookout, Ian said. I was, but the small space would only let me see so far. They were completely surrounded, not just around them, but also above as well. A few of the slug creatures dropped from above. while the ones around them reached out with their tentacles. There were too many attacks at once. Ian then held out both of his hands with his palms open. Objects from all over the library started to vibrate. "Stick close to me, kid," Ian commanded, and Vorden did as he was told. "Repel!" At that moment, the ball exploded with an incredible force. Little pieces of scrap metal were flung out so hard it had caused several puncture wounds in the beast's body, killing them all as it went through their brains and hearts. "Good thing this planet is covered in metal, huh?" Ian said with a smile on his face. "Come on then, let's not waste these crystals." The two of them went up to the dead slugs and started to carve out the crystals. After gathering the crystals, Ian had handed Vorden half of them. "Here, take it." "I can't, I didn't do anything." "Look, these are only basic tier crystals. I could earn these in my sleep." "Fine," Vorden said. Then, finally, the two of them spotted something. "You see that? Now, if I was going to put a portal anywhere, I would put it in there," Ian said, pointing at the large dome building. "What is it?" Vorden asked. "It looks like a training center." "That's exactly what it is, and it looks like it was well built. The beasts around here haven't even been able to scratch it, and it's big enough to build a secret base underneath." The two of them continued walking forward with their next destination in sight, the training center.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.